Welcome to everyone who is joining us for this virtual launch of Migros Up. My name is Elif Ceylan, co-founder of Opengate, and I will be your host for today's event. I'm really excited to be here with you today to witness not only a great day for Migros, but also an inspiring day for Turkey's corporate sector. Now let's take a look at the agenda for today's event. If we can have the agenda up, please. I don't see the agenda up, but I'm hoping it is there. Awesome. Thank you. First, we are going to hear from the CEO of Migros on their plans for innovation within the company. Next, we will talk about Migros Up and the innovation culture within Migros with Ferit Cansever, the Director of Innovation at Migros. Migros has partnered with Opengate and Maxitec to bring a Silicon Valley perspective to Migros Up Open Innovation Launch. I will be joined by my business partner, Maris Keen, in Silicon Valley, who will host a panel discussion on corporate innovation and startup engagement in the US. Eren Hucondar from Maxitec will participate in that panel to bring the Turkey-US perspective. Following this, we will meet some Silicon Valley investors who are going to listen to the pitches of the 5 Migros Up finalists. Each startup finalist will have 5 minutes to present their solution and another 5 minutes to answer questions from the investors. Finally, we will have the announcement of the winners of the first Migros Up event from Kerim Tatlıcı, CIO of Migros. We hope you can stay with us for this exciting program. Without further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce Özgür Tort, the CEO of Migros, to kick off this virtual program. Özgür Tort, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Elif, and I am glad to be with you all. Thank you indeed. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. So we are really excited to have you to participate on our very important first event for Migros Up. We are probably the oldest retailer in this country, in Turkey, 67 years old experience. An old company, but the most innovative food retailer. I think we don't need to be humble here. This is what our shoppers experiencing and expressing for us. And today is going to be one of our really new, good innovation kickoff moments. And this is why I'm very excited and very glad to be together with you. My own agenda today is just to share you what we are really aiming from such new structures. I know globally we are having similar initiatives, events across the world. And probably from the Turkish market, we are one of the first innovators in such entrepreneur welcoming structures. Today, we're going to have our panelists, our potential investors, and probably, of course, the most excited team will be here, our entrepreneurs who wants to provide and present their cases. Migros' own operations, as I expressed, is a pure retailer. So that is where we are coming from. And basically, physical stores are our inherited structure. And at the same time, of course, we are trying to make sure that there's a clear transformation on what we are aiming for the future retail events. And obviously, today, a lot of companies are expressing themselves that they are not managing a company anymore, but also they are managing a real new ecosystem. And this is why I want to be just a bit more clear what we want to aim from our new ecosystem. We will always have 3 major pillars in such ecosystem. And the main idea of this event is, of course, co-innovate all together. As a clear retailer, our main pillar is and will be basically our physical stores combined with our e-commerce operations. As the largest operator in the Turkish market, together having about 45,000 employees, we are also representative of one of the largest employers in this structure. So what I like to mention is that we are here for our entrepreneurs, not just as a pure retailer, but one of the largest employers, one of the largest IT system providers, and probably one of the largest at the same time, big data environments, providing our both suppliers, innovators, partners at the same time to work together. That what I will call as a retailer platform to work together. The second pillar will be always the new initiatives that we are aiming to enlarge our ecosystem, where we want to underline mainly our fintech operations, where we are trying to act as also financial operators together with several new initiatives like simple digital wallets, small credit programs, and at the same time, new money transfer driven new initiatives. But not limited with financial tools, we are also acting with a separate delivery operation where we are focusing on our last mile delivery capabilities. So this is where I will be just expressing ourselves, not just as a retailer, but an enlarged ecosystem provider. Not limited with these two, the last but most important one for us will be our new proposition of our value chain structure, where we are a real actor in the physical food system ecosystem. The main idea, of course, is here that we are selling probably the items in our stores and e-commerce operations, where about 80% of our goods sold in our structures are based on agriculture. And we trust that the future of the world is pretty much dependent on how we can provide a better, safe products, more healthier lives for our shoppers, and more sustainable agriculture for our future, for our kids, and for the future of the planet. So this is going to be the main definition of what we are aiming as a pure retailer and enlarged ecosystem together with our new operations and partners, and at the same time, an important player at the food value chain while acting together with our partners and providers and producers. So this is what we aim to host our investors as a co-innovator together with us. And I'm glad to express that we are right in the middle of a great transformation, not just in terms of digital transformation, but also a cultural transformation where we want to innovate together with our entrepreneurs. And I would be, of course, definitely more than happy, not just providing a platform, but also at the same time providing them some financial opportunities to enlarge their operations. So I will be just closing here with my remarks, and I really want to thank to my team and our partners to really sharing the moment together with us for a great start of this new innovation platform for Migros. Thank you indeed for joining us.
Thank you, Özgür, Tort. Wow, so exciting. What a great opportunity for startups to connect across a wide variety of business functions. So recently I had a great virtual conversation with Ferit Cansever, who's leading the Migros Up initiative. Let's listen to what he has to say about Migros' approach to innovation now. Welcome, Ferit Cansever. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity to learn more about Migros Up and what you hope to achieve through this program.
Thanks, Elif. It's a pleasure to be here.
First of all, can you tell us about your role in Migros?
Yeah, of course. I've been at Migros for 23 years and currently serve as a Director of Business Development and Innovation. And there are 4 pillars within my department. The first one is to focus on keeping the company on the cutting edge in terms of technology and services, and of course, digitalization. And we seek out new partnership opportunities and create new revenue stream through digital products and fintech solutions. And my department also has the PMO function, which leads the company-wide transformation projects and the projects which are key to the strategic agenda of the company. And most recently, we have added a team for the project deployment and implementation. This team managed the rollout of the developed products and the products to maximize the impact within the Migros. And they are also responsible for determining the opportunities for the improvement as the project progresses.
Really cool. Congrats on the new team.
Thank you.
How has the focus on innovation changed at Migros over the course of your career there?
Yeah, throughout my career in Migros, I have always focused on creating new things. There are sometimes new processes, sometimes new technologies, but the objective has always been to create something transformative. And over the years, as a part of the business development department, I have worked with other companies Of course, a lot of departments within Migros, sometimes startups to develop technology especially for Migros. And this contract development has been successful in solving specific problems within Migros. But more recently, we have recognized that Turkish startups are building all manner of new technologies that could potentially be leveraged by Migros. So our new focus on innovation is to leverage these opportunities as a part of company-wide effort towards digital transformation.
So this is why you have developed a new open innovation program.
Yes, it's our main idea to focus the transformation of the company's core retail competency and technologies to the next level in order to fulfill the customers' ever-changing demands. And not only has there been a change in customer behavior because the retail is quite dynamic, but also technologies and concepts have changed drastically in the last decade. And technologies, for example, such as AI, machine learning, and IoT, they are new trending technologies. Concepts also such as self-service, shopping, e-commerce, last mile delivery, and also new working methodologies such as Scrum and Agile have changed how we are approaching the innovation. Even though we have a very established business innovation environment and a very talented team, I believe that no internal team can handle such an extensive load of innovation work. So that's why we want to have a collaborative approach to developing products and services and leverage the opportunities of startups. And we know very well that we have to move faster and faster every day. So we decided to expand our abilities to outside why. That's why we started to cooperate and innovate with startups.
So let's talk a bit more about Migros Up. What is Migros Up?
Migros Up is a co-innovation ecosystem to bring startup into Migros corporate world. It's a program designed to benefit from thousands of bright innovators building new products and services. And Migros has, of course, partnered with many startups over the years, but the engagement was only focused on them to provide a specific solution to a specific problem. So Migros Up has much broader mandate.
What makes Migros Up different from how you have operated in the past?
Yeah, previously when attempting broader co-innovation opportunities, the process often got tangled up in bureaucratic and legal minefields because startups didn't understand how corporates work, and we didn't understand fully what a startup needed. This was quite painful for both parties actually, and probably many potential engagements fell apart because of this glitch. And you know, that's why we designed the Migros Up with a new streamlined legal system with working with templates which can be easily adapted for a rapid and simplified agreement on co-innovation projects. We believe this should reduce the complexity and the contention that has existed in the past, especially around IP licensing and revenue sharing conflicts between two parties. Another aspect also, it's difficult for startups to navigate in large-scale companies. They're like, I don't know, but they're like mazes or often too complicated for them. So many potential opportunities die because they fail to connect the right function within the company. As our R&D center has been a welcoming department for many startups throughout the years. Also, we noticed that many of the startups had experienced with Migros that went wrong because of not being able to contact the right person. And that's why we want to create a centralized location for the coordination of the innovation projects. This is both for, not only for us, but this is both for startups looking to engage and also for our internal departments to be able to come to an internal group that understands the opportunities available in the startup ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, the team at the Migros Hub is a group of experts from a variety of functions within the company who are dedicated to innovation process rather than trying to squeeze an innovation function around to their day-to-day role. So it will be a dedication on the startup ecosystem, mentality.
So you talked about the Turkish startup needs over there a little bit. According to you, what does the Turkish startup ecosystem need from corporates?
It's a very good question. For the last couple of years, new graduates are quite keen on starting their own companies right after their graduation, but mostly based on their ideas verified with their limited experience. So this caused many repetitive initiatives and derivative similar solutions. But I understand that the financial viability and the quick wins are quite important for a startup to survive. They form a group of similar solutions around successful ideas. That's why there is a lack of originality in the ecosystem, and this also limits the potential of the whole ecosystem. For example, heavy accumulation on fintech startups lately is a good example on the situation. Also, another important fact is that new startups commonly never interact with their target customer base, so they easily miss the customer point of view, and that's why our unique proposition is to provide them a clear view on real customer perspective, and also provide different areas to explore and the chance to test their ideas in a real world environment.
Mm-hmm. So if we sum it up, what are the objectives of the Migros Up program?
Our first objective of Migros Up is to provide a bureaucracy-free, fully innovation-focused environment for the startups. And the second one is to co-innovate and co-create with them. And we want to assist them and give our expertise to improve their success on the market. And the third one is, of course, to create product and services, but this time not only for Migros, but usable at every industry. This also will give us an opportunity to invest them, or in some of them maybe, in the long run. For this year, for the first year, we would like to see at least 3 co-innovation projects implemented. But it's not for granted. We are going to do our best to reach this score. And additionally, we see Migros Hub as an opportunity to improve our internal innovation culture, and we want to give everyone in the organization a chance or a window to bring some new innovation projects for the company. So not only Migros Hub or business development will engage with the startups, but it's open to the whole company. And finally, we want the startup ecosystem in Turkey to recognize that Migros is a partner for all types of innovation, not retail only.
Mm-hmm. This is really interesting, beautiful. So your innovation focus is not strictly limited on retail technologies at the moment.
No.
Cool.
We see a much broader scope and opportunity to engage with innovative startups, definitely. And because retail is a very dynamic environment and the needs of our customers are always changing, and there are new technologies which creates new opportunities, of course, and we have to stay up to date and improve efficiency and make our customers happy, of course. And these opportunities also are not strictly limited to technology. We have the opportunity through Migros Hub to collaborate or partner with many different kind of innovative companies. many of them we previously would not have been aware. And I believe this is a change in the culture, change of culture within Migros, to be open to new external ideas and not just focus more obvious pain points within the company or retail specific.
It sounds exciting. So tell us what has happened at Migros Up so far.
Yeah, in December 2020, we announced the launch of Migros Up at Big Bang, which is the probably the biggest startup event in Turkey. And we made an open call for startups and had 123 applications. From there, we selected 10 companies to present to an internal team in Migros. And today we are seeing the top 5 startups present live, which represent, I believe, a wide range of Turkish innovation from materials to software to hardware. And we want to support these startups in a variety of ways. This is why we wanted to give them the opportunity to present to Silicon Valley investors. Today we plan to announce maybe some partnership opportunities, but let's save it as a secret or surprise.
Exciting. Yeah, let's not talk about it. Thanks, Ferit. We wish the best of success to all the participants in Migros Up. We will, of course, be supporting you along the way. This is a really exciting time for Migros and Turkish startups. Our next panel is going to be a great opportunity for the audience to learn more about corporates and startups who have been there and done that. I'll pass it over to my partner, Maris Keen of Opengate, to introduce our panelists. Take it away, Maris.
That was really, really interesting. Delighted that we could get that framing of Migros Up from Ferit. Thank you so much. So my name is Maurice Keen. I'm joining you today from Silicon Valley. Delighted to be here. Elif and I have been working at the intersection of corporates and startups for the past few years. At Opengate, we support the growth strategy of startups. We work with them on their product market fit and their corporate engagement. We also work with corporates who are looking to engage more actively in the innovation ecosystem. And we also support quite a few startups who are moving internationally into the US. So we see a lot of the challenges and opportunities that exist for startups and corporates to work together. So as anyone who's worked in this space knows, corporate innovation is hard. It's hard. There's a lot of pitfalls along the way. And as Migros launched this ambitious program, we thought it would be a really good opportunity to speak to some experts. So we have invited a panel of innovators, corporate innovation strategists, startups to join us here today. The panel will consist of Neil Gutterson, former CTO of Corteva, Aidan Connolly, president of Agritech Capital and CEO of Quintus, Devendra Chandani, who is the co-founder of Intello Labs, which is a startup founded in India and currently expanding to the US, and Aaron Hucondar, who is the head of corporate innovation services at Maxitech. So I am really excited to talk to these people and really learn some tips on what makes for successful engagements between startups and corporates. So I'm going to start with Aidan. Aidan, if you'd like to join me here on the screen.
Okay, can you hear me?
We sure can. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us here today. Aidan, you have sat at every side of this table. Can you first of all just give us a little background on what you've been at through your exciting career?
Yeah, I have had an exciting career. I had the chance to work with a company involved in nutritional supplements, natural supplements, probiotics, etc., for livestock animals. So I had the opportunity to visit the Turkish market quite a bit with them, Alltech. Within that nearly 30-year career, we set up our own accelerator. We set up an incubator called the Pierce Lines Accelerator, Pierce Lines Incubator, after the founder, Dr. Pierce Lines. We engaged originally with outside organizations, so startups, and then we moved to accelerate some of our own internal organizational concepts, ideas, almost like mini companies. Subsequently, I left to form Agritech Capital. I've been working with startups in food space, agri space, different tech space, and as I say, most recently started with a CEO also, Cantus, which looks at cameras for cows. So it watches dairy cows as they move around the barn and sees how they behave. So we've raised significant capital from Cargill, and we also obviously are growing that business. So yes, I've been on the side of the CEO of a startup. I've been helping to raise and advise people in the corporate world, and then finally, obviously, set up the accelerator and incubator. So that means I feel like I don't know what shape that table is, but it feels like I've been at all the corners.
You certainly have, Aidan. I'd like to maybe just dive in a little bit on your approach at Alltech to innovation. So you had that accelerator. Can you maybe give us a little bit more detail on the thought process of setting that up, and what you hope to achieve, and maybe a little bit about what you did achieve or didn't achieve once you did that?
Yeah, so there are different goals as to what you're trying to achieve. We started out with a simple goal, which was to engage with startups, involve them within our process, and really we're very interested in putting them in front of a stage of 3,000 people that we were holding in Kentucky. So some of the opportunity for them to be up there in front of all of those people was just very exciting. Of course, nowadays, well, Alltech does it as well. You can do a lot of these events online. But as we began to become involved, we realized that they had some of what we were seeking, which was innovation, risk-taking, entrepreneurship, development of new concepts. And in particular, and I don't want to say anything about the organization, but as companies get bigger, as organizations get bigger, ideas sadly go to die there. It feels as though innovation dies. It's harder and harder to create your own stuff. It's harder and harder to take it to the next level of making it commercial. So we actually started to learn quite a lot from those startups as to what they were doing. We could fix some of what they were doing. We could learn some of what they were doing. And it almost gave this injection of energy into the organization that encouraged, at the time, Dr. Lines, and now Dr. Mark Lines, his son, has taken over, to continue to foster relationships with the startups, but to also see how do we engender entrepreneurship within the corporation, within the organization, and how do you get that injection of energy into your projects, your ideas, your services, in a way that maybe when you're small isn't such an issue. But Alltech at that stage was $2.5 billion turnover organization with 6,000 employees. For better or worse, entrepreneurship is much harder within that setting.
And Aidan, tell us, like, what were the impacts of that approach to innovation on the internal corporate teams within Alltech at that time?
Well, not only at that time, but still, everybody became excited by the process. They began to see it as being a direction that the organization could take to get that injection of energy, as I've described it. We began to realize that our customers were looking for it, because they were saying, well, what have you brought me new? And inevitably you brought them a new way of looking at an old idea, or an old idea repurposed. Now you're bringing them something completely out of left field. Increasingly, I think also customers don't want to buy a food product or feed product or something for crops. They want to buy a bundle of services. And so the ability to engage with the startup so that, as I'd almost described it, feet on a chair, legs on a chair, that each leg makes that chair much more stable and much less likely to be toppled over. So the startup became part of the legs in the chair that Alltech could offer to its customers, and say, don't just solve this viral disease, don't just improve immunity, don't just make the animal or the person healthier or happier, but also look at how you can measure that with a sensor, how you could use blockchain to ensure traceability and transparency, how you could use another technology in order to identify changes in real time. There's so many myriad of things that can be combined with food nutrition to make our nutrition better. Today, you may have seen New York Times ran an article talking about these glucose sensors that you can use to measure glucose in real time and see how does your food affect your body minute by minute, and start to realize that some of us can eat chocolate and it does nothing, and some of us bounce off the walls when we're eating chocolate. So you have to learn how that works, and it's not just simply the food product, it's the combination with tech.
It's interesting you should say that, Aidan. We have an interesting startup in that space that's going to be presenting a little later. Thank you very much. I'm going to move on next to Neil. Neil Gutterson is a former CTO of Corteva. We'll bring Neil onto the screen here.
Morning, good afternoon.
Good morning and good evening. Thank you, Neil, for joining us here today. Delighted to have you. You have just, come to one end of a pause in a very long corporate career in innovation. I would really like to just hear about some of the places you've been over the course of your career to date.
Sure. Thanks, Maurice. Let me, so a pleasure to be here with this group today. Just about myself briefly, I spent most of my career in small companies, mostly in the San Francisco Bay Area, where I'm sitting today, and spent about 7 years as a CEO of one of those companies from 2007 to 14 before coming to one of the legacy companies that became Corteva in 2014. So spent a lot of time thinking about how to work with large companies, frankly, as a small company innovator, R&D leader, and CEO. And of course now, and then until recently, thinking a lot about how to enable Corteva as a larger company to work well with small companies. And collaboration absolutely was foundational to the success that we'd had at Corteva and need to have, the company needs to have in the future. I think the discussion today about, what are the best ways, what are the key success factors for innovating, partnering between a large company and small companies is a fun topic to talk about. And, I can offer a couple of thoughts, Maurice, if you want to have some questions first. I mean, however you want to go from here.
And maybe you could just describe to us how Corteva approached its corporate structure to engage with those partnerships. Can you speak to how that was successful for Corteva?
Yeah, so, first of all, everything frankly starts with strategy. And, it's a strategic lens that we would look through to decide in what areas we needed to collaborate. Often, the company had a lot of capabilities, and obviously Migros does as well. So part of it starts with what technologies, what capabilities, what talent do we need to attract from the outside? What is better off being done by hiring, let's just say, a small company versus building something internally? That would be the sort of mental model that we would have taken. And then within that, then going out and, having a team that scouts, right? And looks for the technology, the talent, business models that we want to explore that small companies can help us do, or we can learn by partnering with those small companies or investing in those small companies from time to time. And then I think really importantly, every one of those collaborations needs someone who's absolutely committed to it internally at the large company, committed to its success, and is, often on a steering committee, let's say, between the small company and large company, making sure there's alignment, making sure there's clarity. Nothing works perfectly, but it never works unless you have a consistent engagement, a consistent process, and true internal champions. And frankly, one of the lessons as a small company is that you really need to figure out who those internal champions are at the larger company. Hopefully make sure that there's at least one at a senior enough level to have the ear of the top management, so that there's durability to that relationship. And then monitor that, because people do come and go in large companies, and oftentimes people come and go because they're growing and moving into other roles. Doesn't mean they're leaving. but then you lose a champion and then you have to re-championize someone else, so to speak. So I think that, a key success factor for me, frankly, is having people who really care about that technology, who understand it enough to help the small company develop it and test it the right way in the large company, because that's the other piece, right? The people who were working on collaborations also had a role internally to make sure that we would be testing appropriately some of the work, the products or the business models of the small company was developing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And ultimately, you are serving your customers and you want to make sure that the products that you bring through these partnerships are serving your customers as well. So that's
Absolutely.
very good. Thank you, Neil. I think we'll move on to Dev. Dev, I'd be delighted you to join me on the screen here. Just one sec, we'll get you up. Dev, delighted to have you here. Dev, we thought you would bring an interesting perspective. You are co-founder of IntelloLabs, who are an Indian company, and you are interested you are in the process really of expanding your business into the US. So first of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about IntelloLabs?
Sure, thank you, Maurice. And like you said, IntelloLabs is an Indian company, and I've spent close to last 15 years in India, and I was working in the area of data and analytics, right from the time when it was not the buzzword, it was not cool to be in the area of data and analytics, right? And from that time, we've worked with large organizations in India, in Southeast Asia, in Middle East, as well as in US. And then over a period of time moved from data analytics to data analytics based consulting. And from there moved on to new technology roles. And just prior to starting IntelloLabs, I was leading the whole effort of digital technologies for KPMG in India and Middle East. We started IntelloLabs about 4 years back. And the idea was to use computer vision and artificial intelligence, AI, in the area of food and agriculture, which is sort of the oldest known profession known to mankind. But it's still, the practices are probably as old as 50 to 100 years old. Now, we're using IntelloLabs to look at quality of fresh produce, which is primarily of fruits and vegetables and some spices and nuts, once they are in the post-harvest stage across the supply chain, when they are being traded or when they are being bought and sold. So essentially means that right from a grower, when he is looking to sell his produce, he does a quality check, to the end point, which is the retailer, who is again buying fresh produce, doing the quality checks basis their quality specs, and then putting it up on the shelves and then continuously monitoring those shelves. So we are digitizing that whole process through the help of images, so that images clicked either through handphones or through any stationary cameras. We use those and then give the visual quality reports for the fresh produce.
And Dev, tell me about an example of a really good corporate partnership that you've had so far in your startup journey.
Right. So we were quite lucky to have a very good corporate partnership with Reliance Retail very early on in our journey. Right. Reliance Retail is one of the biggest retailers in India. It's got about 1,200 stores, close to 20% of the organized retail market back in India. And they had a structured accelerator program called Gen Next, where once you were a part of it, we started working with the CFO of Reliance Retail. And since it was a program which was sponsored by the CFO, we got all the right kind of support. We got all the right kind of backup which was required. And then from there, it was up to us to prove the value and then get ingrained into the Reliance's ecosystem.
Great. Well, hopefully that continues to be a success. And I think maybe there's a few lessons learned along the way that we can dive into in the conversation. Thanks, Deb. My next participant is Aaron Hucondar. Aaron, delighted to have you join us here today. Aaron and I have been working together for the last year. We're in the similar space of that intersection of corporate innovation and startups. So Aaron, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Maxitech and the role that you have there?
Of course. Hi, Maurice. Since as Maxitech, we see ourselves as a part of Migros, I'd like to say hoş geldiniz to all panelists as a tradition, which means welcome in Turkish, at least virtually, I can say that. I'm Aaron Hucondar from San Francisco, California. I'm working at Maxitech as head of corporate innovation services for almost 4 years. As Maxitech, we are the innovation arm of Softech and İşbank in Silicon Valley. After spending 2 years focused on only İşbank and Softech, we have expanded our services to other enterprises in Turkey. Because we believe that our companies, our big enterprises, are very successful, but because of the high competition in the country, they may miss the technological developments all around the world. Luckily, our first partner was the Migros outside of the group. Right now, we have a deep and successful relationship with Migros, and we have been working together closely in the last 2 years. We have done so many projects and researches in Silicon Valley altogether. As Maxitech, our primary goal is contributing to our client strategy and problem-solving process to increase their competitive advantage in the markets with the help of Silicon Valley and the best-in-class startup technologies.
Thanks, Aaron. Aaron, I have actually just been told that my headphones aren't working very well, so I just need to change them out.
No problem.
Can you maybe tell us a little bit about what you're seeing from Turkish corporates that they're really interested in Silicon Valley and the US and
of course.
Innovation ecosystem?
Of course. For us, Silicon Valley is really important for Turkish enterprises. But we have experience about corporate innovation throughout our journey. We have lots of experience. Before starting, let me give a little bit background about myself and my company as well. I can definitely say that we have seen a lot of corporate innovation. I have been one of the first member of Softech's innovation team, and then I had a chance to be one of the first employees of Maxitech. Right now, I am leading the corporate innovation services team, and we have created the corporate innovation team with my colleagues. So far, we have reviewed probably more than 2,000 companies from Silicon Valley and US. It happened in the last 3 years. We have acted like catalyst between startups and enterprises to bring more than 20 of them into action. First of all, let me admit that it sounds easy to do when we talk about innovation, but it is not, like you mentioned in the opening. Even if the numbers that I mentioned before are promising, I have experienced all possible worst-case scenarios. Unfortunately, we had to do our best with my team in a once-in-a-lifetime pandemic. We have seen several economical and political crises. We had to, seen a couple of wars, and we had to deal with a crazy exchange rate fluctuations. You may guess we have a pretty big list. For these kind of situation, even affects all the strategies of corporates. In the corporate world, being innovative is tremendously hard. Thousands of parameters can go wrong in the meanwhile, while you are trying something new. Since there's no stranger among us, and I think we can talk about the elephant in the room as well. In the enterprise world, doing anything new or not being innovative in your business is easy because you don't have to convince anyone. In most cases, even a single person is enough to stop or indefinitely postpone a highly innovative project or miss an opportunity. Actually, it's merely human nature. However, if you decide to follow the other path, you have to convince almost everyone in the chain. From this perspective, today, I'd like to congratulate the entire Migros team and the program sponsors, because it is very hard to do a thing for a corporate. For us, we are sharing the similar perspective with Migros. Working with startup is the most efficient way to increase the speed of change and adoption. On the other hand, it is like building a new habit. It is purely fascinating in the beginning. Like all the New Year and New Age resolution, after a while, when you need to put a lot of effort on top of it, when you need to focus more to create more partnership, all the flows, become visible. Even if you want to innovate and change many things, it will fade out by the time if it is not in your priority list. This situation itself brings us the most critical ingredient of the success, which is management and C-level support. I think in this case, most of the enterprises and Migros is really fortunate because, like in the keynote, Özgür Bey mentioned, and Kerim Bey, and I know Ferit Bey knows it very well, knows how important it is. But in addition to the appetite, we have to support it with the cultural shift. Otherwise, even C-level support won't be sustainable. As a primary step for cultural change, we have to respect every tiny bit of innovative movements and what startups are doing. The organization itself needs to empower them. As a summary, we need to have a room for error. If there is no error, it means you are not trying anything. On the other hand, there are a couple mistakes that we can avoid easily. These are like, shiny little poison bottles. We have to resist to drink them. But I'd like to ask you if you want any further questions. I can answer that, but I would like to go deeper about these topics.
Okay, great. Thank you, Eric. And I think what we'll do now is bring everyone in together and join so that we can have a conversation about this. I do want to tell our audience who are watching on the live stream in YouTube that you can put your questions in the feed in YouTube. We have a team monitoring the questions, and any good questions will be fed into me to ask our panelists. So that was, I think that's as you can see, and we have a really wide range of experience and in this space. I think bouncing from what Aaron was saying, I'd like to talk a little bit about risk appetite. Maybe we start with Neil, but feel free to jump in the others, like from a corporate perspective, that appetite for risk and the comparison with the startups is a big issue. Neil, what are your thoughts on that?
Thanks. Pardon me. Thanks, Maurice. I mean, clearly, in a very general way, I think the risk a small company has and a risk a large company has are very different. Risks, from a small company, there's a lot less to risk and a lot more to gain. From a big company, usually there's a lot more risk and a lot less to gain by proportion. So you already have a sort of discontinuity in risk approach. But I think that one of the key challenges I've seen within a large company is the willingness to adapt the risk appetite to the type of activity. And if one brings the same sort of global risk appetite one might bring to supply chain, to thinking about how to work with small company partners, one will usually not be able to successfully execute a collaboration or an investment in a small company. And the fundamental issue here is that to enable a small company to succeed, one has to have a different level of control, let's say, over these ideas that one is trying to develop with a small company than the level of control one might have as a large company. And I've had the experience, certainly as a small company, where came very close to a wonderful partnership with a much larger company. But when it came to the final decision level, the very top level at the C-suite, the company couldn't get comfortable with without owning essentially all the value of the innovation that was being developed as opposed to some segment of innovation. And so that issue of risk and control, I think, go together. And I think it's very important to recognize that to enable a small company to succeed, whether you invest in it or partner with it, one will have to have only a measure of control or input and maybe a lot less than one is often comfortable with.
Aidan, do you want to jump in here as well?
Yeah, it's have to of course agree with everything Neil says. He's got a huge amount of experience in this area. I think that as companies get larger, it's not just bureaucracy. There's risks that you take when you engage in fundamental innovation that to some degree larger organizations, their rules and regulations predicate against that occurring. Whereas in a small organization, you succeed, you fail, you start again. And the risks just seem to be lower, and therefore people who are entrepreneurial, who get their own businesses started, are willing to take those risks. So to a large degree, I think to engage in fundamental innovation, to get really breakthroughs, it is cool for large organizations to align themselves with smaller ones, to find ways to engage with startups, to find ways to bring them and help them, open doors financially, bring the resources when they need them, but also be able to back off and understand that they need the freedom to take risks, to take decisions, to take chances. As we're talking to one large organization, not present on this call or that hasn't been mentioned, and they described how they have a research and non-development department. And I said, what is that? And they said, well, as soon as you're a PhD in a large department of research, it's great to come up with ideas and it's great to make suggestions, but you risk your career if it gets launched as a product or a service. So you almost create a culture whereby we're inventing, we're suggesting, we're coming up with new ideas, but we never actually launch it. In a startup world, you die if you don't launch, you die if you don't sell, you die if you don't get to market. So that becomes the quality control and making sure that doesn't happen.
So Dev, from the other side of the table then, tell me about what the hardest issues you've had when trying to engage with these corporate, when you've started the conversation, they're interested, you have something that can bring value to them. Like, give us some examples of the real challenges that you have faced as a startup going into that situation.
Right. So I think the piece which comes as a challenge is the whole mentality about failure. While a lot of startups work on the principle of fail fast and move ahead, which is basically let's get into the action, let's see what's working, what's not working, let's take it to the market. Like you were discussing right now, let's take it to the market, let's see if revenues are coming in. Large corporates want to spend a lot of time on planning to ensure that failure does not happen. Now, it's very difficult to have any innovation if you are very scared of failure or you want to create a foolproof plan where innovation would not happen, right? I mean, you look at Jeff Bezos' email which he sent out last week. He said that you'll have to take decisions with 70% of the data which is available to you. And if you keep on looking at getting 100% data availability, that's something which is going to take a lot of time and resources, and eventually it's going to fizzle out because you're never going to have that 100% of data available to you to take those decisions. So that whole setup of and the mindset and the setup of failing fast and then moving ahead and improving, that's something which comes inherently in a smaller setup because your whole existence depends on it. Whereas in the larger organizations, you have the luxury of planning it out and trying to make it as close to perfect as possible, which many a times doesn't work in a innovation kind of a setup. So I think that's one key difference or one key challenge which we face in terms of mindset. And then the second key challenge which we face is that a lot of organizations do put in a budget for innovation, but most of that innovation is tied to kind of improvements they would get in a short period of time, right? So it generally ends up being an incremental improvement, right? If you're looking at any disruptive technologies coming in, if you really want to try out new technologies which might come in, it tends to be disruptive. It tends to be a long-term gestation period, right, where you have to put in a lot of efforts to get it going through a longer period of time. So if and in an organization or in a large setup, if you're not showing results in your half yearly or a yearly assessment, then obviously it's not good for you, right? So my cycle of my cycle of planning is larger. B, I have to show in the results before the before the yearly assessment which goes out. So I'm really bound by the whole cycle, by both these factors coming together, which reduces the piece for bringing in disruptive innovations or testing those out. Right. So it has to be, I mean, it's something where both these mindsets need to sit down on a table and balance it out.
I think that speaks to Ferit's conversation earlier, where he was describing how Migros's approach to innovation was very much focused on, you know, solving the problems that they were dealing with in the moment, rather than taking that wider focused approach. Aidan, you had some comments to make there. Jump in.
Just very quickly, on the side of the fence, I am now running a startup. Engaging with a large organization like a Migros or other, there's always a danger if they come too much into your company by wanting to embrace you, they end up giving you a bear hug. And that bear hug is like any bear with something small, it eventually can choke you. So understanding and respecting the boundaries, understanding how you can help the startup. Yes, they need money. Yes, they appreciate advice, but also making sure that you don't create some of the problems that have occurred in your own organization and inflict them on the small startup.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so I think that's one of the biggest pieces, right? Because if you look at what Henry Ford said, he said if I go to ask people what they want, they would have always said we need faster horses. Nobody would have come up and said we need a car, right? So we'll still be looking at horses and creating feed for them, which would make them faster.
Yeah, Aaron, you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, Aidan, your analogy was perfect, actually. I called them shiny poison bottle, but you said bear hug. I think bear hug is more appropriate, I believe. You know, first and the most, one of these, you know, key challenges that a corporate, while, you know, integrating with a startup, most popular dilemma is, I believe, I call it big organizations dilemma, which is a single sentence probably that you can hear in almost every meeting. We can do it internally. And that makes the conversation between startup and enterprise you know, a lot longer than expected. I have heard this sentence from different teams and companies many times in various forms, like why we are partnering with a startup. Can't we do it by ourselves? We can do it in a couple of weeks. I can create an application in Java. It is very easy. That startup is doing nothing. It's on our plan and we will launch it soon. That soon is longer than you think, and it may never come. Whenever they ask my opinion, can we do it in-house? Or what we need to improve in our organization, after meeting and analyzing top companies from Silicon Valley, I can definitely say that product management is very important. In Turkey, our engineers are highly talented, but when the topic comes to how we lead the product or how we can launch the product, I think we have a lot to learn from Silicon Valley, and we have a very big room to improve ourselves. In addition to the product management, regardless of the company size, every organization has some strengths and some improvement points. We have to focus on our strengths. We need to say no to we can do everything and lead them to be partners and candidates for co-innovation and co-creation mindset. If it is not the core business of the company, being a partner or being co-creation model should be the first steps. In other words, if you're not willing to fully put your energy and dedication into a product, you can't be successful. You may sell to a customer or maybe two, but you will never be able to scale it.
Absolutely, Aaron. I think that's a really good point. So if we think of a scenario where we have buy-in from the corporate, we have a good opportunity with a startup, Neil, maybe you have some examples of, you know, what kind of engagement can the corporates provide maybe give us an example, a story you can share with us about a corporate providing that really high quality engagement for the startup. What does that look like, and to support a positive outcome for all?
Fair enough. So let me just think about some of the newer areas that that Corteva had explored a bit, and I'll give an example of some work that is going on, and I think it's not. I don't think anything here is proprietary, but the company's business, amongst other things, is to help farmers of different types, small specialty crop farmers, large acre farmers, protect their crops from pest and insect and pathogen damage. And so, a number of companies today are developing technologies to give earlier insight into the potential damage a farmer might have from pests. And so, typically, let's just say an almond farmer in California will at a certain time of the year usually just spray their field with a certain chemical, because this time of year is when a particular pest would often show up. But there's a lot of pressure on use of chemistry when it's not necessary. And so how do we help a farmer figure out when to use the chemistry and when not to? And maybe even where in their field to use it and when not to. And this is an issue for all the large companies and smaller companies. And so many small companies are working on tools to begin to give predictions or diagnosis of potential problems. So it's an interesting company in California that has built these sort of insect traps. And what's kind of cool from a technology standpoint is that they can actually tell when an insect flies through this sort of virtual trap, what the insect is by the way the wings are flapping, and of course, how many insects are there. So pretty cool technology. The question is, how does one get it tested? And I think the analogy here, I'm sure there's examples we could apply to Migros as well. The larger company, in this case, Corteva, has a whole series of relationships in California with farmers, can actually connect the small company to a series of ways and places to test that technology with the right people, and help design the right test that actually provides the information that a Corteva might need if it would eventually either maybe acquire the technology or license it or acquire the company, right? And so I think that was one kind of example where, the large company connecting the small company to the right people to do the right tests, the right prototyping, provide some input in a very much collaborative kind of work environment. That's what really can work well, because oftentimes a small company has a great idea, but doesn't really know the best place to test it, doesn't know the right people to test it with, and may have a technology that perhaps it's actually asking the wrong question or being used the wrong way from what the larger company knows its customers truly want. And so the large company can help shorten the cycle time, the learning curve for the small company. So hopefully that's a generic sort of view, but also kind of a specific example that might help a little bit here.
Aidan, do you have any color to add to that as well?
Yeah, after my Altic experience, I wrote a paper on LinkedIn. I'm not sure how many people read it because I think it's quite a specialized subject, but I said I really thought that the acronym IGNITE should be used for the relationship the large organization has with the small one. And the acronym IGNITE stood for intent. So define what it is. Why are you doing this? Are you doing it for marketing? Are you doing it for innovation? Are you doing it to help the world? The group that you set up, the G is group. So, who are the people who are going to make it happen? The neighborhood, maybe a bit clumsy as an N, but the intent was to say, where is it going to be? Because I think it needs to be off-site. What I found was if it's held within the campus, or even especially within the buildings of the large organization, you end up killing the startup's culture because they get involved with the water cooler, with the coffee maker, gossip of the larger organization that they don't really need to be part of. Independence, I really feel needs to be held outside of other R&D functions, that you go off-site and you are someplace else. Transparency, again, Why are we doing this? What does the startup gets out of it? Why are we spending money on it? And finally, experts, which I think Neil had said right at the beginning. Ideally having a mentor, one person is assigned per startup from Migros or from anybody else, and that person is the go-to person. In my case, I found them saying, you've got 30,000 contacts in LinkedIn, Aidan. Can we have access to, can you make some phone calls and get us a few coffees? Can you help us identify VCs? Can you tell us where we should be publishing our information? Can we do? So you'd be surprised at what can happen, but it really needs to be one point of contact that makes that happen within the organization. So Ignite was my acronym, and the main thing is to obviously have quite a structured approach, but also an independently outside of your core organizational functions on a day-to-day basis.
That's very. I like the Ignite. You always are good for getting little catchy phrases. I saw your last post about 5 C's of communications of ideas. Yeah. Conversely, then it's very easy for a corporate to have a shiny carrot in front of a startup, and there's this great opportunity of engagement. And how, what are corporate people can be drawn to the shiny carrot and the opportunity that can create, but it can also end up squashing the ultimate direction that the startup wanted to go in. So you've two conflicting ideas here. You have the corporate customer who knows its customers really well, but you have the startup with a vision. They're not always aligned. So how do people approach balancing that focus between staying true to the true vision that you see and not being, led down the garden path by a corporate? Maybe Dev, you could speak to some challenges you've had in that area where you're being led into a pathway that you're not sure you want to take as a startup.
Right. Yeah. So I think one big piece here is that a lot of corporates do talk about their individual problems. They too look at what's the problem in front of them right now, or what's their key challenge and how they want to look at it. And so that sort of narrows down the focus completely. Right, and instead of making it a generic product which can be used across the whole segment, it becomes a very, very specific customized product. And even if, let's say, I'm going to a corporate with a set product, and if they're a large corporate, they would have their own customization requirements. So it ends up turning a product company into a services kind of a structure where they need to meet demands of a lot of customization from various different corporate partners they would have. Right, simply because it's just the mechanism, or the balance is so much tilted because everybody would want to work with the large corporates, right? So that tends to bring in that, okay, let's get whatever is required done, and then we will focus on the product going next. So it's a very difficult balance. I think at times it depends on the startups also that they assess where they are in their journey. Right? Is it something where they are looking at a validation of the technology? In that case, they definitely will need to work on some of those customizations, and they'll definitely need to prove things across, saying that, okay, this is a technology which can work. Or are they at a stage where they are looking at growth and they need to move into a product-led growth? Right. So in the later case where they are looking at growth and they are moving into a productization phase where the technology is already proven, at that time they need to start taking some of those strong decisions and say, no, this is which is outside the purview, or is going to cost you a bomb or a arm and a leg, because now this is the place where you want to make profits. Yeah. Right. If people just tend to get in these discussions just for the sake of moving ahead and trying to get another logo on your slides, then it would never end up being a beneficial relationship for either the corporate or for the startup. Right. So the value has to be very, very clear. The corporate has to acknowledge the fact that, yes, they are buying in a product, which means they might not get a lot of customized services, but then it's something which is easy to roll in, easy to integrate, and then if it doesn't work, easy to move out. right? But if they also spend in a lot of customization, then to move out also becomes a challenge for them. So
Yeah.
it actually depends on the stage of the startup and what they want to acquire from that relationship. And many times what happens is that startups don't recognize that, right? Even corporates don't recognize that they are talking to a more matured startup as against somebody who's very early and looking for technology innovation. So I think that kind of value which each party would bring to the table needs to be very clear, and transparency, what Aiden said, is to be very, very clear in this case, right? The moment you set these expectations upfront, it becomes much easier for everybody involved. Otherwise, it just goes into a my expectation versus your expectation kind of a mismatch.
Yes, very good, Dev. By the way, at this point, I'd just like to remind our viewers on our YouTube channel, please feel free to enter any questions you have for our panelists in the chat, and we will address as many of them as we can. And just maybe following on from what Dev was saying, and you know, the power of the logo of a corporate is always so compelling for the startup, but can we get some failure stories about, you know, how these have gone wrong? Anyone want to jump in with stories of Aiden's got his finger up? Aiden, tell us what lessons have you learned along the way?
Don't like to name specifics, but we'll give it a go. I worked with a bakery here in Ireland, and not here, but in Ireland. It's been around 150 years. They have food waste, and they've engaged with somebody to take the bakery waste and 3D print it into other things. So fantastic sustainability story, use of technology, 3D printers, a nice combination of a large organization with a startup. Really important to understand what you're getting it into it. You know, initially you get into it for the marketing, the story, and then does this really solve a problem? How much volume are we really going to use? It hasn't been a bad story. It's working out pretty well so far, but it just shows you how people can come in with different aspects. I see a lot of startups wanting to tick the box, as Devi said. So we've got to get a food company on. We're doing a pilot with a major food company. You can imagine the brand names, the Nestle's, the Danones, the Parmalats, or whatever. But actually, you're starting now to chase down an avenue which is soaking up time and resources and is not taking you any further down your road to success. So now you have something which looks cool on a presentation at Maurice when you were doing the Thrive conference. You got somebody that stands up and says, hey, we're working with this very large food company, but actually anybody who knows the business says that's a distraction and that's not going to help them on their journey to success. So there are lots and lots of examples of that. Somebody said to me, if you see a startup that's winning prizes, run a mile and certainly don't invest in them. That's a little bit cynical, but it is true that that some of the things, unfortunately, that tick the boxes for winning these startup prizes aren't the things that make for a durable business.
Yes, I have definitely seen that in my career to date. Aaron, did you want to jump in here as well?
Actually, Aiden gave very good example about it, but I'd like to mention about another part of the another side of the coin. Generally, companies are big enterprises making this mistake, while they are putting startups into a position that they are competing with the internal innovation or internal teams, which is a very crucial mistake, and we should avoid that as much as possible. We should give them an equal chance to try and fail for both parties. Otherwise, it will end up with a high cost for both parties. Like Aiden mentioned, startup try to guess the their logo, their reference. They're changing their product journey. It ends up with something different place. And for the enterprise, they are putting a lot of effort to change the startup's technology and product a lot. And at the end of the day, nobody even remembers what they where did they start, or what will be the project's final picture. That's why it is very crucial for both parties. From this perspective, we should adopt the startups technology as much as possible, with the original value, original product features. That's the beauty of working with startups. I mentioned in my previous part, we need to change the culture. Meanwhile, adopting this startup ecosystem. This is crucial. This is also the part of the cultural change as well. Enterprises used to work with Accenture or IBM, like big human resource power companies. They can create whatever you need at the end of the day. But startups are not like those companies. They don't have that much resources. Because of that, if we need their technology, we should get it with the original value and offerings.
Thanks, Aaron. We have a question here from the audience to Dev. What is your approach to strategy when you have a chance to co-innovate with the partnership? And maybe Aidan can speak to this as well from the startup perspective. How do you approach an opportunity to co-innovate with a corporate? Either one.
Right. So there are three basic principles when we would look at any co-innovation kind of opportunity. The first and foremost is, does that align with our strategy, with our vision, right? If it's there in our product roadmap, if it's there where we want, which helps us move towards our vision, then that's the first checkbox ticked. If that's something which is deviating us from our vision, it's something which would probably is something which is a supplementary kind of a piece, but it's not the core to the vision. Then there's a question mark which starts coming in. So I think that's one of the biggest piece which as a startup we need to continuously look at. That is it falling in my product roadmap? Is it falling in my vision, or I have to just move to the side, add some additional capabilities for that particular co-innovation kind of a piece. The second key checkpoint in this is that what's the kind of role my technology is going to play? Is it going to be the core, or is it going to be a supplement in that? Unless it's a core, as a startup, I'll not be able to bring in the value. If my technology is just something which is going to be a supplement, then it's going to be more detrimental for both of us, for the startup as well as the corporate partner, right? I know the cases where one of the startup was working with a large food organization to give them visibility across various cold storages. And they had a technology-based solution, but it ended up being a manpower logistical exercise where they had one person sitting in each logistics and filling in onto a sheet and then getting collated. Now that's something which works for a startup in terms of again getting the logo, but it's not the core, right? The product's not getting used. You're actually circumventing your whole technology, right? And then the third piece is the kind of market which would open up for you from that, right? So unless all these three check boxes get ticked, the co-innovation would actually not make sense for any startup. Right.
That's excellent advice, Dev. That's really good. Aidan, do you have anything else to add there?
I build on the same. So I think a lot of startups can be investor-led, and when you're investor-led and when you're trying to keep your investors happy, the market happy, it really pays to continue to come up with new ideas and new ideas and new ideas. I didn't invent Keynote, the company I'm the CEO of. I came in after 2 years. And what I found was we were trying to do 40 things. So in a very old-fashioned way, I introduced what they called a one strategy, meaning we're only going to do one thing. And we're going to do it well, and we're going to do it repeatably, and we're going to be able to scale it, and we could use it with 1 million dairy cows, not with 10 dairy cows. So that is very old-fashioned, that complete blinkered focus. But was critical at that stage, because if not, the organization would spin out of cash, spin out of resources, would eventually have not been where it is today. So I think that we are now back at the stage where we're co-creating. We have a customer, they've got over 100,000 cows. We're on one farm with 10,000 cows, and they're asking us to do more stuff. And I'm constantly looking at, does it make the sale stickier? Will they pay more? Can we sell this to other customers? Really basic questions, because in a startup, it's too easy to think you're trying to win the Nobel Prize or that you're trying to invent all of this all the time. But with too many different points of focus, your team just becomes exhausted. And in fact, when we moved from the 40 focus to the 1 focus, the energy level in the office went through the roof. The productivity went through the roof. There was a little bit of a time for everybody to believe we were really serious about committing to it. But once it started to, our innovation has actually increased in speed, because people truly believe when we say we're going to do one thing, we're going to do it, rather than just doing it and then a week later changing focus again.
Very, very good. We're getting quite a few questions in on the chat. Most of them are questions from the corporate perspective. But one interesting one here again is if asking the panel to think about an engagement that you really wanted to work but didn't. So if you were to look back on that, what would you do differently? And maybe Neil, I'll put you on the spot to start that. But if
Sure, sure, happy to think about a couple of examples, or at least one example. I was reflecting on this when we were talking earlier. You know, one of the themes I'd had on Mike's sort of key success factors, and we've touched on it in various ways here, is just simply put is alignment. It's really critical that at the inception of any partnership, that the small company, the large company really sit down, understand what their goals are, commit it to paper, and really form, develop a contractual relationship that assures alignment. Now that's easier said than done. Because as we've said in many different ways, you know, what the large company is trying to solve for may be different, albeit related to what the small company is trying to solve for. But making sure one has alignment, I think, is absolutely critical. And you know, the example here is that when I, along the way at Corteva, we merged, we inherited some different things. I inherited a relationship in which the small company basically was more of a technology developer. And the premise, in a very simple way, is that it could do better, quicker, more efficiently, a lot of the things that Corteva was doing. And so inevitably, if you're not careful, you end up putting the small company in a place where it's competing with the internal expertise. You know, not every company has a large R&D organization, but it's really a sign, or you're setting up failure if you essentially ask the internal group to then essentially try to compete with the small company, right? And then perhaps you end up with inadequate sharing of information, and things can spiral because trust is so critical. Sharing information is so critical to a true collaboration, not some company working on behalf of another, but a true collaboration. And that particular relationship truly did founder over the next 18 to 24 months. And you know, when I look back at it, because I wasn't there when the inception of the project, or the partnership, I think it was fundamental to the way the contract was set up that, you know, essentially it was assuring a competition between internal and external. And I can't remember, maybe it was Aaron who said this earlier, which is, you know, a lot of big companies will say, we can do that, right? And just because one company can do that doesn't mean it has the will to do it, or the understanding to do it, or will do it. But it doesn't mean it won't think that way and feel as if it's in competition potentially with an external partner, where particularly the model is not a new business segment or a new product category, but a better way of doing things.
That's actually really interesting, Neil, and it relates to another question that has come in the chat. Someone is asking, it feels like one major concern would be enterprise employees feeling their value is diminished by a startup coming in to work with the enterprise. Is this a valid concern? And if so, How do you think corporates should respond to that or deal with that inherent competition that may be perceived by your internal organization?
Well, I'm happy to weigh in real quickly with the first thought. You know, the reality is that a large company has a series of capabilities and technologies at its disposal in the internal organization. And oftentimes a small company is coming in and offering a new capability, a new technology that could ultimately replace something the large company is doing. I mean, digital is just rife with those kinds of examples. It's inevitable that those on the inside may look at it and say, well, what's in it for me other than losing my job in the future because I don't have the expertise? And so, you know, at some times in a company's life that will happen. You'll replace one technology with another. But if you have really good people, you know, they can often learn, right, and develop and grow. So part of it is somehow an expression of commitment to one's people, their growth and development, the fact that they can partner with and then, you know, grow with a company that is on the outside. But it isn't really simple, because at times there is a threat, a real threat to capabilities that exist in the organization.
I would build on that. Neil, you probably appreciate this. I have been working with a company called HARP that has a natural herbicide. So we've had some issues with herbicides at the moment globally. And I approached one of the top 4 agrochemical crop protection companies. And a relatively senior executive has said, we'll certainly look at it, but you know it doesn't work. So I said, well, I haven't shown you any data yet. Yeah, but we've tried everything, it doesn't work. He said, but if you want to look at it, send it to my PhD of PhD of PhD head of, and then I know it definitely is not going to work by the time it hits that person's desk. So back to this research non-development risk that what startups bring to the table is so dramatically different than what you see in a corporation. I don't think, in my experience, Alltech didn't have that problem. We were very good about accepting that a startup could do something we couldn't do, but it is endemic as companies get larger that it just seems to happen more and more.
Aaron, you had a couple of points on that.
Yeah, you know, it was a great question that, you know, what can corporates do better to partner with startups? Or, you know, the question goes actually vice versa. We all talk about, you know, cultural standpoints, and we talk about, you know, all the necessities from business perspective, but there are also some technological requirements for creating a successful relationship as well. In corporates, there are, I'm coming from banking background, and there are, you know, thousands of legacy systems inside the organization. That's why, you know, if you're a startup and if you would like to work with a bank, you should be prepared for those kind of exposure. That's why, you know, either bank or startup, you know, has to be prepared for this kind of situation. From corporate side, they have to prepare a very, you know, suitable technological landscape to integrate with those kind of, you know, new technologies. And from startup part, once the relationship goes deeper, then they have to be prepared for this kind of integration. You know, after that, they can create a, you know, valuable production, you know, product at the end of the day. But if they don't have this kind of, you know, landscape, then the relationship will take longer, and at the end of the day, people, you know, will lose their appetite for the partnership.
Aaron, I think that's actually a really good summation of this whole challenge. I think we're at time at this point. I really want to thank our panelists. I think this has been a really good discussion. I hope it's valuable for the Migros executive team and these new startups that you'll be hearing from shortly. Thank you all so much. We are now going to move to the next part of our program, which we're excited to hear the startups that are going to be presenting and the investors that are going to be interviewing them. So I'm going to pass it over to my partner, Elif. Elif, you're up now.
Thank you so much, Maurice. Guys, please give me a couple of minutes when I'm taking my panelists, inviting my panelists to here. Okay, they are slowly coming. All right, I'm almost done. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who am I missing? Okay, I think everyone is here. Before we start, actually, wow, what a great panel, no? Maurice, great insights we have got here today. The experiences shared will be really valuable for both Migros executives running this program and startups who aspire to have meaningful engagements with corporate partners. Now, the next section of our program is the heart of the program. It's about the startups in the Migros Up program. From a pool of 123 applicants, the 5 finalists in the first Migros Up program are going to be presenting their companies. We wanted these startups to get a feel for the Silicon Valley style pitching event. Therefore, we have invited 4 Silicon Valley investors and 1 Migros Up executive to participate in a Q&A session with each company after their pitch. I'd like my panelists to introduce themselves now. We'll start with Garrett Keane from Promos Ventures. Would you say a couple of things about yourself, please?
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Elif, and thank you to all the other organizers for including us today. We're really excited to be part of this great event. Just a quick overview on Promos Ventures. We are a very active seed and early stage venture capital investor with a team based in the US and Europe. We look to fund exceptional entrepreneurs and teams who are working on solving really hard problems. And these are often using what people sometimes call deep tech or frontier technology. We've been around since 2012, and our investment thesis is really fundamentally around investing in companies at the intersection between data and then tools like machine learning and artificial intelligence. And often we're interested in companies who are generating value for enterprises in really large sectors of the global economy that have historically been very slow to adopt technology, sectors like construction or resource extraction or transportation and logistics. We've funded over 80 companies over the last 8 to 9 years, and investments across the US, Europe, and Australia and New Zealand. Currently, we have about 50 active portfolio companies. We're on our 3rd general fund, and we just recently, in the last 6 months or so, have launched a new deep tech fund based out of Luxembourg that will concentrate on investing globally, but with an emphasis on Europe. We're typically an investor at seed or early Series A. Our initial check size is somewhere between $500,000 US and maybe $1.5 million. And we're very comfortable being a lead investor. We set terms, we take board seats. We're also very happy to be a strong syndicate partner, and we've co-invested as a partner with many of the leading venture capital firms in the world, like Sequoia or Andreessen or Kleiner Perkins here on the West Coast, and then leading firms in other geographies where we also invest. So looking forward to hearing some great pitches from all the entrepreneurs participating today.
Thank you, Garrett. In no particular order, let me see who I see now. Dilek Dayındarlı from ScaleX Ventures, managing partner. Dilek, would you please say a couple of words about yourself?
Sure, thank you, Elif. And I also feel privileged because I'm a big fan of Migros brand. And I feel this is going to also help me as a customer to get a better service and innovation. So this feels really good. So I am the founder and managing partner of ScaleX Ventures. I feel I define myself as a venturepreneur because ScaleX Ventures is a year-old fund. Previously, I was an active angel investor, Kaufman Fellow, teaching at Stanford as a guest lecturer, and Horizon 2020 a jury member at European Commission. But at the fund, we focus on really similar to Garrett's, early stage, pre-Series A, global focused and hard problems to solve. I'm mostly focused on consumerization of enterprise, machine learning, AI, cybersecurity, and e-commerce enablement lately. And we just don't invest financially, but we also bring operational help to our companies. And our firms, I mean, our investments entrepreneurs also have been getting really good following round investments from top firms like Sequoias and Battery Ventures of this world. And happy to be here.
Thank you, Dilek, for being here. Jonathan Hua from Scrum Ventures.
Thanks, Elif. Nice to meet everyone. My name is Jonathan. I'm an investor with Scrum Ventures based here in Silicon Valley. Scrum Ventures has been around since 2013. We are currently investing out of our third fund, but actually almost done deploying fund 3. So we're about to close on a 4th general fund. We are early stage investors, primarily seed and Series A. We do up to 500K check sizes for seed companies, up to $1 million for Series A. And we are not lead investors, so we usually syndicate with other investors to follow on to a round. We are industry agnostic investors. So while my background is in the agriculture and food tech space, and fun fact, Elif, Maurice, and I made up the best team that the Thrive Accelerator here in Silicon Valley has ever seen. And we worked together in a prior life. At Scrum, we've done everything from digital wellness, weight loss apps, to cashierless checkout stores, to farm-to-table grocery delivery, remote surgical training in VR, and kind of everything in between. We've made about 80 investments to date so far, 12 exits. We actually started 2021 off with 2 9-figure acquisitions in our portfolio. So really excited about the start of the year for us. The kind of interesting strategic area for companies working with us is the Japanese market. So all of our LPs are major Japanese corporations. We have a team based in Tokyo as well, and we support a lot of our portfolio companies going into the Japanese market. And in addition to investments, we also have a team called Studios, which are kind of a hybrid cross between accelerator programs and corporate innovation programs. And we kind of utilize our extensive corporate network in Japan to bring a lot of business development value to startups around the world. So that's us in a nutshell. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Jonathan. And I must say what everybody else is thinking. Your background or whatever you are in is great. I'm loving it.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Elif. Actually, this is one of the investments I made last year. It's a company called It's spelled MMHMM for anyone who's interested in looking this up. But yeah, this is I've gotten pretty bored of Zoom. So I thought I wanted to spice it up a little bit. So now you see me in a box.
Perfect. Thank you so much for bringing some color, bringing a lot of color. Next is Duygu Öktem Clark from Do Ventures, the founder of Do Ventures. Duygu, would you please say a couple of words about yourself?
Thank you so much, Elif. Happy to be here. So I'm joining you from San Francisco today. So I've been working with commercialization of technology since the very early days of my career. I started to work at the European Union office of Turkish National Science Foundation, TÜBİTAK, and I represented Turkey at the European Commission and facilitated R&D projects with a total budget of $150 million between Turkey and Europe. Then I started to work for one of the largest technology groups of Turkey, Turkish Telecom Group, as one of the founding R&D managers. I founded and ran 2 departments from ground up. I led 17 R&D projects with a total budget of $200 million. And I launched the startup accelerator of the company as a corporate entrepreneur in 2013, which became Turkey's first corporate-run startup accelerator. And I invested in 26 startups and formed partnerships between startups and the company. So Ayşegül, Ferit, I feel for you. I've been there and I know what you guys been gone through. A big kudos to the whole Migros Up team. And after that, I worked for the European Investment Fund, $65 million fund for Turkish startups. And then I founded my own firm in San Francisco, where I'm currently based, and invested in 15 Silicon Valley startups, along with Sequoia, Excel, Kleiner, to name a few, in 2 years. And I'm one of the startup judges at the European Commission's Fund for Startups, and I'm helping Chobani founder Hamdi Ulukaya and Professor Selçuk Şirin on their mission to help Turkish startups.
Thank you for being here, Duygu. And last but not the least, Ayşegül Özkavukçu, the head of Migros Up Migros. She'll be bringing the corporate perspective here. Ayşegül, would you please introduce yourself?
Thanks for this opportunity, Elif. And first of all, I just want to say that welcome to our virtual lunch event. It's really proud to see you together while we are listening our finalists. And I'm working as business development manager in our R&D center for years, and we are conducting both technological innovations and radical process innovations as well. And we know that we need to be fast. We need to create a faster innovation environment, and for 2 or 3 years, we are conducting with some partnership projects with the entrepreneurs as well. And let me say that my PhD was about also the new product and process design and development and the corporate strategies and together. And we already know that when we think about the whole product life cycle, the design stage is really important, because we take many decisions in that early phase of product life cycle. And I think if we can make a real engagement with entrepreneurs while they are creating their MVPs, so we can just create a bigger impact. Indeed, I want to say that my own top values are like being productive, being transparent, and acting as a team. So these all will be reflected to Migros subsystem as well, because they are already aligned with our company. And I think we will manage this as an iterative progress, how the startups are doing that. So I imagine an agile team, because we mentioned that our keywords are co-creation, co-innovation, and joint culture creation. So I imagine an agile team which consists both entrepreneurs one side and Migros experts in the other side. So we are trying to achieve the same shared goal in the same team. So I'm really excited. I want to say you all to thanks for sharing our excitement together tonight. Thanks, Elif.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ayşegül. Okay, so I'm excited to hear our companies. The first company that we'll be hearing is Avocadio. When you are looking for tools to make better food decisions for yourself, it would be great to have some insight into how your body works. With a solution for personalized insights into metabolism, let's hear the pitch from the Avocadio team.
Hello, my name is Yunus. I'm CEO and co-founder of Avocadio. Avocadio is developing portable devices for measuring specific gases in human breath to give instant indication about metabolism health and detecting nutritional deficiencies. According to the World Health Organization, 52% of the world population is obese or overweight. The main reason that people become overweight or fail to make healthy nutrition choices is that there is lack of personal insight data for sustainable diets with the current solutions available at the market, such as generic diet plans or applications. However, each body is unique and therefore has different needs. We have developed a product that can help the consumers track their own body data as simple and fast as a single breath. Let me give you an example how we do that. Here in the picture, you see one of our early users. Her name is Buse. She thought she had healthy eating habits, but still had some weight issues. That day when we took the picture, for breakfast, she had a big glass of orange juice, French toast, and some vegetables. We made her breathe into our device and made some measurements. We have measured her ketone levels, which gives an indication about carbohydrates and fat metabolism. We saw that her ketone levels were low, so she's been recommended to reduce drinking that much of orange juice because of the sugar content in it. We have also measured her ammonia level, which gives an indication about protein metabolism. Her ammonia levels were slightly lower, so she's been recommended to add some protein in her diet. And also by measuring hydrogen and methane gases, which gives an indication about food intolerances, her hydrogen and methane levels are slightly higher, so she's been recommended that maybe some of the vegetables that she has been consuming could create some food intolerances. So by continuously using our product and getting data from her body, she made personalized healthy choices and have successful results in her weight management. So like Bruce said, we want to help other consumers too. We are 3 co-founders coming from various backgrounds. I am the business development person. We also have a technical development and a healthcare person in our team. We do also have medical advisors board consisting of some medical doctor professors. Our revenue model is based on user device and paid subscription. From the subscription, we will give meal plans based on the data that's coming from our device. Breath analysis is a new emerging area. However, we do have some competitors. The main difference, Avocadio can measure carbs, protein, fat, and food intolerances from the same device, whereas all competitors are focusing only one single parameter. We did actually start our breath analysis almost 3 years ago by measuring breath gases of intensive care unit patients for early diagnosing their infections. However, we have then decided to focus on pivot to metabolism health, which we think is a bigger need and easier to launch to the market rather than developing a medical device. We are currently at production stage, and this year we want to finish some 10 minutes integration, finish our meal plan localization, and by the end of the year launch a crowdfunding campaign to reach our first customers in the United States. In the coming years, we want to develop an AI-based wellness and nutrition coach based on the data that we have been collecting and add some diagnosing features. Wellness, mobile health, and personalized nutrition markets are big and high-growing markets. But even after the epidemic, they will be in a higher growing trend due to the awareness of people for wellness and healthy eating for healthcare. We have been selected for Scrum Ventures Foods to Tech Bites program for making some meetings with Japanese corporations for business development opportunities in Japanese market, and also we have made an agreement with a distribution company in Holland for distributing our products in the Benelux areas. We haven't received any funding yet. However, we have received some grants from various Turkish companies, as you have seen in the slide. We are looking for $250,000 US dollar investment, which we want to use for fastening our device production and finishing our software and data processing. Also, we want to use for marketing and HR. Thank you very much for listening and have a healthy day.
You, Yunus. So panel, we have 5 minutes for questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have one question actually. Can the VOCs that you guys detect through your breath tests give any indications about kind of COVID-19 symptoms or diagnosis?
Well, actually, we have been doing a clinical study about that at the university in Turkey. Also, we have been received a grant about that, but this is on a clinical stage at the moment. Yes, it gives an indication about how the COVID is affecting your metabolism or how your metabolism is affected by COVID. But that's a very totally a medical device. At the moment, we are just doing it for clinical purposes.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Like, is this going to be a sort of medically regulated product? Like you have to go through FDA and sort of CE approval, or will it be something that's more about health and wellness? And then once you answer that, a question on your business model. So, subscription business, have you any, I know it's very early, but any thoughts yet on how much it's going to cost you to acquire a customer and what the lifetime value of that customer might be to Avocadio? Okay, the first question, we don't want to product a medical device. We know that it's really difficult to go through the regulations. That's why our device is based on FDA's wellness device, low risk device, actually, that regulation. So we don't really have to go to a very deep regulations like a medical device. On second question, but we have some kind of similar startups information. So it might cost like 10 to 11 US dollars for customer acquisition for a product like that. For customer value, actually we have a thought like making the business model on a subscription on the long term, maybe like giving the device for free or with a little charge and making the consumers use the product more and more based on subscription. But it will depend on our if we can reach some funding and we can do that. So I'm not really sure at the moment. I don't have very concrete information about that. But in the longer term, we
might want to do something like that based on subscription only.
Okay.
I can ask Elif.
Please.
So I have two questions. The first one is, do you guys have any patent applications?
Yes, it's on progress. We haven't
Is it-
received that. It's on. We made the applications, but it's.
Is it a PCT?
We have just started it in Turkey actually, through a university. But
But
yeah,
you guys have
but
other-
it's a global PCT.
Yeah, it has to be, I think, global because you guys have, And the second part of my question is, so you guys have beta users right now, right?
Yes, we have. And at the current stage, we have like 5 dietitians, diet clinics, but we have been working in Turkey. And we have some beta users, direct users as well.
Can you tell a little bit about the usage statistics? Like, what's the habits of beta users right now?
I mean, if you're asking about how they're using the product, I mean, it's like we work with some dietitians.
How many times?
Engagement numbers.
We ask them, but actually the information we get, as much as information we can get from the body is meaningful, but we usually ask them to use the product before having breakfast or whenever you wake up, because your body is in a kind of fasting mode when you wake up. That's an information, but especially after 1 hour after each meal you consume, like 1 hour after breakfast, 1 hour after lunch, 1 hour after dinner, because we want to get the information from your body based on what you eat actually. So 1 hour should be enough for your metabolism to work out that food that you have eaten. So we make them use it 4 or 5 times a day.
Okay, I have a couple of more questions, but I'm stopping here.
30 seconds left, maybe one last question.
Okay, Yunus, thank you so much for the presentation. Just a quick follow-up on Duygu's question. Maybe can you give us how many people are using it now and how many times they are using the product?
We have 5 dietitians at the moment that we are using our product with their.
But the end user dietitians are using the product, or
no? Dietitians are making their clients using the product.
Yes,
coming to the to their office or whatever, and we have like 100 final beta users at the moment.
And maybe some numbers on how much do they use?
Like they use it like 3 times a day or 4 times a day. So average like something like 450, 500 usage per day. I'm not very sure if you.
Yeah, daily active user, monthly active user, maybe.
Does that answer your question? I'm going to wrap up if that answers your question.
Yes.
Okay.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, just one more question to Yunus. I just want to ask that, Yunus, you already know that value is created by the producer, but defined by the customer. Do you think that the end user are aware of this requirement in their daily life? How do you want to make the communication of these devices to the end user?
The reason that we have started going to market with the dietitians is that we think that people going to a dietitian or a clinic point, the dietitian or that the doctor recommends the users to that there's a device like that and they can track their body. And also for telemedicine application, we have doing an integration of our device to a telemedicine apps to companies that we have been working at the moment. So we think that we will start with the clinics recommending the products and telemedicine companies recommending the product, and then we will reach the final consumers because it's something totally new. Most of the people don't know that they can get some data from their breaths. It's like urine test or blood test, but easier or more hygienic. So we think that we will step by step reach the final consumers.
Thank you very much, Yunus.
You're welcome.
Good luck. We will pass to Databin now. As businesses know, if you have customers or partners in European Union, you need to be GDPR compliant. Managing the demands of every aspect of GDPR is a challenge. but Databin is here with a great software solution. Let's now hear the pitch from Databin.
Hello, I am Asım from Databin, where we are making systematic, sustainable, and accountable price compliance possible. Databin helps companies completely and continuously comply with price protection laws such as GDPR and CCPA with a single integrated automation and management platform. Even though there are so many types of cybersecurity systems, there are no solutions created for assisting compliance with privacy laws. Inevitably leads to buying multiple systems for each of these requirements, and wasting both IT and legal teams' time trying to glue them together for each new inquiry or problem. So we have created connected modules for each of them, including alerting private data leaks in real time, expiring and anonymizing data, preparing reports for right of access requests, building a dynamic private data inventory, verifiable consent management, and live recording all private data related activities into secure storage. Our security is created by using real-time blockchain-based data protection, cloud integration, wide range tracking, and breach alerts custom created and processed for every customer. We have achieved creating this system with our technological advancements that also create these benefits. Compared to current cybersecurity analytics systems, up to 12 times faster information processing, 26 times more data storage, and 14 days saved for every report and audit. These benefits are making it possible to find, search through, and analyze data at every source, including database, file server, remote working laptops, and cloud, using a variety of criteria such as content, importance, application, or time, and track security and compliance progress of each department, person, or system. Thus, we have created a complete GDPR and CCPA solution that is immensely different than currently available alternatives, that offers more than even a combination of these time-consuming and expensive alternatives. All these integration and performance are very high profit margins to us, but also a big cost advantage to our customers, which will increase their data retention and usage, and that is going to also help us develop new machine learning AI systems. Our business model is software as a service for SMBs and enterprises, and software licensing for highly regulated sectors that get to use cloud. At the moment, we have 9 paying customers and 38 enterprise projects in active pipeline. You can see some of these below. Our next year's sales, which was projected considering only the projects in Turkey, will be $360,000. After international expansion, this is estimated to increase to a minimum of $1.2 million in the global data protection market, reaching almost $200 billion in 5 years. Currently, we are also supported with government grants and multiple awards from multinational companies such as ING Bank and Migros, and recently invited to a special program of Microsoft, limited to a maximum of 100 startups a year globally, and attending the International Accelerator Program Startup Wise Guys. The first markets we are planning to expand into are Europe, California, and the UK. I have worked as a cybersecurity and software development consultant for enterprises for 8 years. Our management team also includes Levent, with whom we have previously made the most popular book of the year in Product Hunt together, and our friend international compliance expert John. We are looking for a $300,000 seed investment for funding the first stage of international expansion. Thank you.
So guys, I must say that Marisa and I, we worked on these 5 companies And with Anson, like he's a true technical guy, a true engineer. He really knows what he's doing. And the first pitch he has done was 2.5 minutes. So we wanted to extend it to 5 minutes, and we told him to speak slower. So he was speaking slower, and I think he got the message across. He's actually super excited. If you have, anything, in the background that you think he wasn't excited, he is excited. He was just trying to make it clear, his speech. Having said that, I want to invite him here, and I would like to get your questions for him, please.
I can go.
Please, Dilek.
Anson, is he coming?
Anson is here, right? Yes, he's here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Anson, for the presentation. Can you maybe open your customers, current customers, who they are, their profiles? And you mentioned a really good pipeline of 38 customers, maybe a bit of them too. That would be really good to understand you better.
Anson, we can't hear you. No problem. You don't look like you're on mute. It might be, yes, let's get those speakers on. The headphones.
Coming alone.
Let me hear an A. No. No. Maybe I can read some lips now. I'll practice my skills on reading lips. We can't hear you.
Oh, hi, kids. You can hear me now.
Yes.
Yay, perfect. Okay.
Perfect.
Because of Zoom's weirdness, yeah.
No worries.
You are asking about the customers. The current active pipeline, they are mainly insurance companies, banks, a few government agencies, there are quite a few international or local market chains or retail chains. Yeah. Currently, our customers involve a few financial companies and any retail chain, a mall chain, and yeah, they are mainly these sectors because at the moment at Turkey, they are the companies holding most private data, so they are starting to understand what is wrong, and they are getting fines and almost constantly now. So they have to find some solutions. Yeah.
So maybe can I add a follow-up question? So it seems they are all like enterprise customers. So how did you make the sales? Your first sales?
Quite a few of them approached us actually because there are no proper solutions for this. So they are hearing, and we are asking them, for example, especially the government agencies, we were really curious about how did they find us, etc. Apparently, they are searching through internet and or calling their friends, etc. We are also using online ads, law offices, because mainly they are in this business. It is in Turkey. We have, of course, a few partnerships with IT distributors or some other consultants as well.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I have a follow-up to that. What's the typical sales cycle for you, for one, and also considering that private data has a lot of variability across your different customers for accessibility, speed, time of storage, security protocols. Kind of how much do you have to customize or personalize, your solution to each new customer? How technically difficult can that be?
Practically none, because that is a big problem that I have experienced during my consultancies. You need to maybe sometimes be at site for a month or something like that. So we had to find another alternative for it. Our current solution is almost completely automatic. You need to change just a few lines in the configuration files, and it works for you. So we had to find solutions to minimize installation or customization time. The other question was?
Sales cycle.
Sales cycles. It depends a lot. We had a few customers that signed in a weeks or 2 weeks. But there are some other companies that has been in POC stage or something like that for months. It really depends on the company and how much they are in this problem, how much they are expecting to get the third or fourth fine from the government. So it depends.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anson. I will have to cut it here so it won't be, it will be fair to the other participants. Thank you so much. Now we are passing to Hergele. Micromobility is transforming the way we live and move throughout the world. In cities, on campuses, on industrial sites, people are embracing a more sustainable way of moving around. With an elegant hardware solution and a back-end fleet management solution, let's hear the pitch from Hergele.
Hello, this is Elif from Hergele. Hergele is an electric scooter manufacturer and a mobility sharing platform provider. Until this day, as Hergele, we have designed, developed, manufactured, sold over hundreds of our products, and we're still available on market. But we didn't stop there. We've developed the fleet operation software as well. And now, with both our own hardware and software, we build micromobility fleets for investors, entrepreneurs, and local authorities. As Hergele, we are positioned as the provider. We provide the customers the software, the control dashboard, the mobile application, as well as the scooters, which we can adapt upon the request of our clients. Transportation habits are changing. The micromobility concept with the COVID-19 pandemic has become a part of our daily routines. And the cities are in transition as well. Many cities like Paris have begun to convert their car lanes into micromobility lanes, which we foresee that it is just the beginning of the multimodal street implementation. As Hergele, pursuing the clean technology and sustainability principles, we aim to ease and fasten this transition in order to expand this market with more operators to larger audiences. With a quick look at the market, we see that the market size for just electric scooters as consumer products was $18 billion in 2019 and expected to reach $42 billion in 2030. Also, our first step target market, the European market size for micromobility is thought to reach $100 to $150 billion in 2030 as well. Where we stand in this market can be marked as a unique spot for our scale, since in this market there are the software developers, the hardware manufacturers, the resellers that can be applied to both sides, and grand fleet operators giving franchises. Hergele, on the other hand, is a team made up of engineers, designers, and developers. We have our own production line, years of engineering know-how, EV design experience, the supply chain, collaborating firms in case of urgent capacity needs, and we also have this software for future fleet operators. Our first attempt to this market was a crowdfunding campaign with our end user products. During this campaign, we created a strong brand identity that led us to recognition in the market and a niche audience which we emotionally bonded and would stay by our side in future product segmentations. We've completed our campaign with a success rate of 148% and validated our products in the market. We've established our first production line with government brands. We delivered our first fleet and also our first export to England. During our campaign, we also completed our Horizon 2020 project. We designed the future electric vehicle with a consortium made up of partners like Michelin, Autoliv, Tort, and University of Firenze. We've taken our first steps towards Europe by being included in such consortium. And now today we have 5 different fleets on our production line from different cities in Turkey, and also 2 more clients only for sharing software utilization. As Hergele, without any investment, in just 10 months, we have reached over hundreds of end users. We had 6 fleet sales. We have delivered our first exports and reached a revenue over $150,000. And we have accomplished all of these with a great dedicated team. Including 2 founding partners, we are a team of 10, all from ITU, that can be also stated as the MIT of Turkey. I'm Lal, an architect from ITU, still continuing my MBA at ITU. I've worked as a brand manager and product designer for years, remotely to firms based in London and Greece. My co-founder, Bugay, is a mechanical engineer, graduated from ITU. He has corporate experiences as an engineer at Harley-Davidson and Mercedes-Benz. We have Özgür and Furkan responsible of production processes, Bahadur, Melik, Kozan and Okan at platform software development, and Mertcan with Murat are responsible of the electronic components. With this team, we have come so far, and now we are striving for expansion and getting Hergele's vision to global scales. In this round, we need an investment for our certification processes and expansion costs. Besides the great lever effect it generates, an investment of $500,000 will be giving us the opportunity to spread the micromobility culture throughout Europe, but not just the overcrowded metropoles. We want micromobility to spread to every street corner that there is. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Lal. I must say we have so little to do with this great presentation. Lal came like this.
Thank you.
We were super stoked with it. We said, you know what? You just saved us a couple of hours. We don't need to do a follow-up. We don't have to do any follow-up, meetings. So thank you for that, Lal. Okay, panel, you have 5 minutes for questions. Perhaps we can start from the panelists who didn't ask questions in the last round, who were Gerrit, Duygu, and Ayşegül. So one of you guys, please, if you can start.
Yeah, I can go first. Lal, thank you for the great presentation.
Thank
you. It was really cool. So I'm going to ask you, so, you mentioned, I saw Unagi as one of your competitors. So do you guys have subscription based business model like Unagi?
No, we actually make the, is that all of your question?
It's part of it.
Oh, okay. Would you like to go on, or should I start answering?
I'm asking this because I know that the Unagi significantly improved margins after launching subscription-based business model. So I was wondering if that is something in your roadmap.
Actually, it's not in our. It's not a roadmap that we are in. We are actually building up fleets for investors, entrepreneurs, and local authorities, and that's the main path that we are in. But we haven't started the subscription. We weren't considering actually the subscriptions.
Actually, Unagi is a competitor they offer unique design scooters like our B2C models.
Yeah.
We're actually more on the map to the B2B sites about building fleets with our own hardware. Yet when we started our crowdfunding campaign, the Unagi had his crowdfunding campaign as well. So they can be counted as one of our competitors in the design wise, actually.
Mm-hmm. And one quick question. So what do you... Okay, just let's get about the Chinese competitors. Like, how do you guys differentiate yourself?
He's our CTO, by the way. I haven't had the chance to introduce him. We are the co-founders. So, would you like to go?
Okay, it's impossible to. It's building the scooters without China in Europe.
And we are not we do not have the intention to compete with the Chinese manufacturers, yet we offer more over them. We are adding the value of the software within the manufacturing processes, and we most likely want to position ourselves as a manufacturer in Turkey, yet more like a design and engineering studio in Turkey, and trying to make it more in Turkey so that we can have the access to European countries. We are most likely targeting the European, Middle Eastern, and the Northern Africa countries. So that's mostly our advantage in that case.
And also for B2B business model that we offer our European customers some scooters from same electronic background, but Chinese frames that makes almost same price as the Chinese market. And also in Turkey, as the one of the European, how can I say, Gümrük Birliği?
There is the customs union in Turkey.
Customs union with the European. We have a tax advantage about 20%.
22, I guess, yeah.
If we...
Okay.
Okay, that's enough.
Okay, we'll have one more question to ask, and if we can just keep it with one question. I know these are amazing questions and follow-up questions are really important, but we are really short on time. One last question from someone, please.
Yeah, I think I would just ask you guys to think a lot about competition. You know, this is an incredibly crowded space. A lot of VCs have lost a lot of money backing companies like Bird and other sort of micromobility players. I think you need to think really, really hard about how you differentiate yourself and sort of make yourself stand out from the crowd. That's the one question I would have if I was looking at a micromobility company right now.
And Garrett, you had also, you know, I don't know if it's confidential, but you did invest in a scooter company before, right?
We were an investor in Mobike out of China, which is more the bike revolution, and that was not very good. We also took a good look at Jump, who had a good exit to Uber. Didn't manage to get money into that. But yeah, no, it is a place to make money, but it's really, really hard.
Yeah, so in our geographical condition, we do have some sort of an advantage since the grand fleet operators are in the US markets, and in this place there are the grand fleet operators in the metropoles, and we just want to ease and fasten this operation before pre-operation times for the operators faster and easier, so that more people can get into this game, not just the big monopoly guys, but the small scale business and mid scale businesses to get into this, in order hoping to one day somebody can consider this as a passive income and to have a scooter in some country. I don't know, some guy in New York having some scooters in New Zealand operating and making money off of it. It's like some roadmap it is.
Thank you very much, Hergele team.
Thank you.
You'll be
Thank
now
you.
passing. Thank you so much. We'll be now passing to Ottan with a focus on climate change and a more sustainable approach to design. Ottan has developed an innovative way of repurposing waste into beautiful construction materials. I just love sustainability companies, so I'm really excited to hear the pitch from Ottan and see what you guys have to say about them.
Hello, I'm Ayşe and I'm the founder of Ottan. For a sustainable future, we develop and produce high quality and long-lasting materials by upcycling green waste in a circular economy model. The problem is resource depletion. We are extracting natural resources 75% more than Earth can sustain. In other words, we need 1.8 planets to continue our lives. And the lion's share of material extraction is housing, with 40%. Also, we are wasting 1.3 billion tons of food annually, and this equals to 1/3 of the total annual production. The good news is we have a solution, and it's our upcycling technology. We upcycle food and garden waste such as fruit peels, leaves, coffee grounds, and nut shells into raw materials. Then we produce Ottan materials to make a variety of products from furniture to cladding panels, home appliances to lightings. Ottan materials look so beautiful with the colors and textures of nature itself. But not only that, they are also so strong and as durable as wood. Here you can see some examples with 85% pistachio shells or 70% less plastic. As you can see, with Ottan materials, any brand can tell their unique story of sustainability to their customers directly. We receive waste from food producers and municipalities, and we sell sheet materials or products using co-brand model to companies directly or through design and architecture offices. Sustainable markets in clothing and furniture industries is $56 billion worldwide and 21 in North America. We target California, Washington, and New York in US. Sustainability assets in US grow so fast, and in 2025, they are expected to comprise half of all professionally managed investments. On the other hand, products marketed as sustainable grew 5.6 times faster than the others. The trend is biomaterials, and there are thousands of biomaterial projects in the research stage, and they are increasing day by day. While there may be less than 5 companies that have a market-ready product. So we are in a blue ocean market, and with a few competitor startups. We are differentiating with our unique natural textures and 4 product categories with the opportunity to be used in more than 5 industries. My journey started 4 years ago by making materials from the peels of an orange I ate before sleep. After 3 years of R&D and product development, we established our pilot production facility in 2020, and in 2021, we started to acquire customers. Since then, we have built strong partnerships, earned many supporters, and had a good press coverage. We have already filled our 2-month capacity by taking 8 projects in a month. And according to our active pipeline, we will reach break-even point in less than 6 months. In the future, we want automations to be produced everywhere, so we are very happy for receiving requests from 4 continents to expand our production. We bring organic waste into economy, reducing plastic, and protect virgin raw materials, which is going to be sourced otherwise. By doing this, we support 3 of United Nations SDGs directly. In addition, we contribute to companies to take distinctive and powerful actions for their sustainability commitments. As the core team, we are 4 young and dynamic mates from different disciplines. Professor Bayraktar, with his 30 years of experience, and a materials engineer, Ahmet, is making up our research team. And for large circular economy projects, we work with Oben, who had general management experience both in an NGO and a corporate. Also, Sibel and Didam from Seattle, experience in sales and marketing, more than 40 years in total, will expand our products to US markets. Finally, we are asking for $450,000 of investment for empowering our production, marketing, and R&D studies to be the pioneer in a blue ocean market. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ayşe. I must say we worked quite a bit with Ayşe, and I hope you guys are also happy with the result as much as we are. Now I would like to turn to our VCs to ask questions for Ayşe, please.
Thanks. This is really cool. I'm curious about the unit economics for your home decor products compared to what you typically see from an IKEA or a Wayfair, because I'm wondering what the willingness to pay is for a customer who would have so many choices in the market for furniture.
Actually, we're not making furnitures. We're making the material and work with design and architecture firms. They are making furniture or panels or some other products, maybe housewares. Our materials are price competitive, if you're asking this, or
yes.
Also, they're differentiating with their natural colors and textures. They have a color palette from nature itself directly. And also, it's an alternative material to wood, stone, or some of them are alternative to plastics. So it's a sustainable alternative material to the traditional ones.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I think one question or sort of an observation, this is kind of like a vitamin, right? It's generally a good thing. It's not really, from what I can tell, a painkiller. Like, do you have a use case or a place you can put it to use that really is compelling for a customer, other than, I mean, there's a general secular trend around ESG and sort of sustainability, which is great. But is there some place where you can come in and demonstrably be better than anything else that's out there from a materials perspective?
Right now we've targeted sustainable brands, and they're really looking for new materials. We're having a lot of organic demand from all over the world, from many different industries. So in the end customer, maybe they're not aware of this, but the brands are aware of it, companies are aware of it, and also the end customers are asking for sustainable products. So
no, that's great. Thank you.
For the last question, can I ask Elif?
Yes, please, Ayşe, go ahead.
Congrats, Ayşe, first of all. Even if all companies are trying to serve for sustainable goals, the one of them is Migros also, it's really, when we think about the scaling up to all stores, for instance, for Migros, it comes to unit price. The first question was already about that. So can you please give some details about your production line in the next term, because sure, it can be make a demonstration like Garrett asked, but when we come to scaling up with your materials, some furnitures, so we should talk about the unit prices as well.
Yeah, of course. We are in a small scale, we are piloting right now, but in the large production, we receive wastes from different producers, and our materials contains 50 to 90% waste, so it means it's 50 to 90% almost zero cost raw materials. Also, it can be the production can be replicable easily. It's good, and also it can be bad about the risk side, but our business plan is on this side to build different production facilities in different local areas, because it's better to it's easy to rapidly produce those materials locally. So all of those facts are reducing the costs, so it's so obvious that those materials will be much cheaper than the natural ones, that not the regular ones, because they're wastes actually right now.
For a follow-up question, do you have any estimation about in terms of cost reduction ratio when you achieve all these goals while you are scaling up?
Yeah, cost reduction.
When we compare your prices,
right now, right now we're producing almost. I know we assume to reduce up to 50% or more, reducing the costs when we when we go to mass production.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ayşe. Our time is up.
You're welcome.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, Teamfluencer, right? Are we in Teamfluencer? Yes. Our last but not the least startup Teamfluencer is on social media. Social media channels and influencers are changing the way brands connect with their audience, and the young team at Teamfluencer has built a platform to connect brands with nano-influencers. Let's hear the pitch from Teamfluencer.
Hi, I'm Dilara. I'm co-founder of Teamfluencer. Teamfluencer is a nano-influencer marketing platform which brings brands and thousands of nano-influencers together. So what is the problem we are solving? When brands collaborate with macro-influencers who has more than 100,000 followers on their social media account, the return of investment is too low because, as you can see, Mora has 3 million followers, but engagement rate of her is too low and cost per view is too high. This is Deren from our nano-influencer community. The follower number of her is less than macro-influencers, but the engagement rate is much more higher than macro-influencers. When a brand collaborates with her, they only pay $5, but the cost per view is too low. So return of investment is too high with nano-influencers. As Teamfluencer, we are like a bridge between brands and nano-influencers. Nano-influencers are sharing organic content about brands on their accounts, and brands can get organically viral on social media. For nano-influencers, we have a mobile application. Nano-influencers can apply to suitable campaigns for them, and after sharing their content, they are earning money at the same time. For brands, we have an online platform to manage their whole influencer collaboration processes. They can determine their target audience and follow their statistics, and they can follow the applications of influencers, and they can manage the whole process automatically. This is our traction. We have 80,000 nano-influencers in our platform, and our total revenue is $170,000. We started on June 2019 with our first sale to Pepsi. In September, we have launched our first mobile app. In October, we have reached 200,000 brands, and we have launched the first platform for brands and nano-influencers. And our aim is to be a global platform. We want to be Google Ads for influencer marketing in global, and we want to reach $1 million total revenue in May this year. This is our growth rate through quarters. Our business model is including two ways. First one is full service. In full service way, we are working with enterprises, and our team is managing the whole operation for enterprise brands. In self-service way, this is for startups and SMEs. They can manage their influencer collaboration process from our platform, and the commission is less than full service. We want to scale our business as self-service platform. As Teamfluencer, we have so many competitors in influencer marketing industry, but they are agencies, platforms for macro influencers. As nano-influencer marketing platform, we are the only one in the world. This is our total market. The estimated market size is almost $23 billion in 2024. We want to reach half of the market size in the world as a nano-influencer marketing platform. This is our growth roadmap. In May this year, we want to expand our business to US market firstly, and we want to expand to MENA region in January 2022, and we want to reach 500,000 influencers, 5,000 brands, and we want to start second investment. Until this time, we have worked with so many brands, and half of them are started working regularly with us. We are very young and dynamic team, and our advisors are famous in our country. This is our total investment need by categories. We want to expand our business to other countries as soon as possible. Thank you for listening to me. You can keep in touch from my email.
Great. I must say, I feel old listening to Dilara. She is only on the second year of college. They have been doing this for a while. They have amazing traction. I'm wondering what you guys have to say about this nano-influencer thing I've heard for the first time when I was talking to her. It's actually pretty smart. So let's get your questions, please.
I can go first.
Sure, Dilek, please.
Thank you, Dilara, for the presentation. It was really good. And I wish I was like you when I was in college, for sure. So my question is about, the first question, $170,000. Is it after the take rate? Like, how do you define the revenue?
It is total zero.
It's like whole ad spend
revenue plus costs. Yes.
Okay, got it. So your revenue is around half of it, probably, depending on the enterprise versus self-service model. So on your chart, when you were showing the competition, you mentioned you are on the platform side and your competition is on the more agency side. Why would you say that? Because you also have the full enterprise model somehow.
Yeah, in full service way, we are working like an agency. This is right. But we want to scale our business as self-service platform for startups and SMEs. Also, agencies are not our competitors as well, because they can be our customers too. In Turkey, so many agencies are using our tool for brands they are working with. We want to be actually a digital marketing tool for influencer marketing. We want to disrupt this agency sector in influencer marketing.
Okay. When you go global, let's say, I know you already said, but how you are going to differentiate it?
As I said in my pitch deck, there are so many agencies working in nano-influencer sector too, but there is no platform for two-side brands and nano-influencers. Yeah, US market is red ocean for us, but as I said, agencies can be our customers too. So we don't want to be like agency. We want to be digital marketing platform.
Okay, you are going to be like
to automatize whole influencer processes.
Okay, like a SaaS-enabled marketplace.
Yes,
for
like a SaaS.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
But our community is so important for us, the sustainability of our community.
By the way, I would definitely go for the community because I know what you did in Turkey. You were so good at creating your community. Maybe you can mention you are genius about it. I don't know how you are going to explain it, but don't give the special sauce, but you should kind of make sure people understand that community edge somehow.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have one. Dilara, congrats on the great work. It was a really good presentation and it's pretty impressive what you guys did so far. So you guys are still students, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm
what's
in
the
first
plan?
year in university.
Yeah, so what's the plan?
I started at high school.
Okay, so what's your plan like? What's your plan to balance, you know, the school life and the entrepreneurship?
The entrepreneurship has the most priority in my life because it's my passion, and Artem is so young like me. Actually, we started entrepreneurship when we was hating this classical education system in high school, and we want to create our own education system through co-learning, co-creation. we think that we are learning when we are failing and creating and yeah, like this.
So you're gonna be a student and entrepreneur at the same time.
Yeah, but entrepreneurship is most important part of my life. Yes.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
One last question I can take before we send Dilara, if anybody has.
Yeah, I think just one question for you. Like what you're building here is a really interesting sort of two-sided marketplace, right? Which do you think is most important, your nano influencer supply or the enterprise demand on the other side? Like how do you think about driving both sides of that network?
Enterprise demand is more important because our mobile app for nano influencers is too attractive for users because they are sharing post stories every day in life, and when they are collaborating with a brand, they are earning money at the same time when they are sharing. So the user acquisition is cost too low for us because everyone wants to join this community. In brand side, it is more difficult to get new customers.
Okay. Makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dilara. And thank you so much to all startups and our investor panelists. There is nothing quite like the probing you will get from a Silicon Valley VC, although I think they were only just warming up. Again, thank you so much for your participation here today. And now I would like to go to the exciting part. I would like to invite Ayşegül Özkavukçu, the head of Migros Up, to stay here with me. And also I would like Kerim Tatlıcı, the CIO of Migros, to join us to reflect on these startups and make some winner announcements. So Ayşegül,
yes.
What are your impressions on these startups?
I think they were all amazing. I remember their initial pitch to our internal demo day to our top managers, and they had come a long way. So congrats to all.
Great, thank you. So Kerim Tatlıcı, welcome. I think it's time for you to make some announcements now. What are you thinking? What are you about to tell us?
Thank you, Elif. I'm very happy this night. It's very interesting night, long, but very happy. When we started this process, we are hoping this pick one company from this group of finalists that we could work collaboratively with to create something that brings value to both Migros and startup. We are thrilled to announce that we have examined each of these companies over the past few weeks. Through this selection process and during the preparation for this event, we have discovered that there are several partnership opportunities to announce with a variety of departments with Migros. So here are the most compelling partnership opportunities we have identified. I am very happy this night, and the winners are, Ayşegül, can you give detailed information, please?
Thank you. So I'm happy to announce that.
One second, Ayşegül. I don't think everybody's here yet. Let's wait a couple of more minutes so we get everyone here on stage, on the virtual stage.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Is everyone here? Okay.
I think everyone is here now.
Okay, now I would like to announce that we see many opportunities to creating collaboration with all our finalists. So congrats to all. And I want to mention one by one about our plans, our potential collaboration site. For instance, the Avocadio. Congrats to Avocadio. It's a really innovative device for the future, we guess. And as Migros, we have vision about that, increasing consumer awareness about a healthier life in terms of food safety. And so we have a Migros wellness platform, and we see a mutually beneficial way to bring them into our Migros wellness platform. Let's see, shall we, in the next days. Congrats, Avocadio.
Thank you very much.
And with Databin, we all know that it's a huge requirement for all companies, and we would like to provide a mentorship program engagement for Databin in order to pivot their current tool, current solution with our experts for the next 3 months. Congrats.
Awesome, thank you.
And the Hergele team, that I really impressed the energy of the team. And we see a great opportunity to bring them into our distribution centers as a micro mobility solution for our operations. So this is a kind of co-innovation we dream. Again, let's see, shall we? This device should create a huge potential for both Hergele and the Migros. Congrats.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And the OTAN team, we already so love your approach. You're bringing to a new point of view to food waste. So we have really higher levels of sustainability goals, and we plan to partner with OTAN to provide them raw materials for free in order to reduce your unit price cost for now. And we would like to create a demonstration store area in one of our store. Maybe we will try to conduct a co-innovation project with you, Ayşe. Congrats. And finally, the youngest team, Team Influencer. In my own opinion, you already, I think, found out the disruptive innovation. This is my current opinion. So also our marketing team sees great opportunity to leverage your business together. And we are already engaged with you, with our marketing team and also our public relations. So we want to create a new co-innovation platform with you also, Dilara. Congrats. So that's all, I think. I tried to give you all details, but we are planning all these finalists.
This is amazing, Ayşegül. Like I really love how Migros is putting so much effort and enthusiasm into this, and collaborating somehow with all these wonderful parties. I think this is a really good, strong start. I'm wondering if there is anything else that Kerim Bey wants to say, Kerim Tatlıcı, if there is.
Yes, it is interesting. Yes, you are right, Elif, because we have a plan 4 times in a year. And this night is the first night. And first time we tried with you, Maxitech, and also Opengate. We are very happy. Thank you, startups and also investors. We are very happy. But you are right. We need a lot of energy for the next year because we have a plan 4 times in a year, 5 startups every night, more than 20 startups in a year. It's very interesting. We need energy for the next year. Thank you again, Elif, and also Opengate team, Maxitech team, and also startups.
We are very happy to be along the way with you, supporting you, and we'll definitely have our continuous support moving further. Thank you. Ayşegül, do you have any last comments? It would be great if you can do the closure for us.
Yes, sure. Thanks, Elif. First of all, I want to thank for all attendees, participants, panelists, and audiences, and thanks for being with us today, for sharing our excitement. I'm really grateful to share my excitement with all of you. And also, my special thanks is going to Migros top management for supporting us in this very unknown journey, very risky, very unknown. And thanks for all my Migros colleagues, because they are supporting us in a positive way, and they are already want to be a part of the game. Thanks for all of them. And so thanks the Maxtech, Opengate, and Migros Hub teams for sure, and also the agency who are serving us an amazing YouTube live broadcast in our first time. Thank you, and the final congrats to startup finalists. And I want to say to welcome to other startups as well. No worries, this is just the beginning. So in order to not miss our new calls, please just try to follow us on our social media accounts and also in our website. And we are now trying to engage with the entrepreneurs. We are trying to understand their dynamics. We are trying to thinking by the perspective of their side. So I'm really excited to engage all these entrepreneurs. As I said before, I'm dreaming an agile team which consists of both the corporate and the startups. So I think this will create a bigger impact than we expect. Thank you again, and have a nice day, have a good night. So thank you, Elif and
Thank
Marisol.
you so much, Ayşegül. Thank you so much.